Good evening, and welcome back to another episode of NoSleep Stories. Tonight's story is called My House is Empty, but my friend who is deaf and blind insists someone is here. The author is named Let's Split Up. A link to the story will be in the description down below, so please do show the author some support. And as usual, if you enjoy the episode and like the work that I do here on YouTube, please do consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Now, with all that being said, on with the show. They say seeing is believing. But if I followed that advice, I'd be dead now. It was a deaf-blind friend who first told me that there was someone in the house with me. I scoffed. I didn't believe him. I looked out across the wide-open, empty living room. I looked upstairs, in the den, and spare bedroom, and out at the patio, and in the kitchen. It was just the two of us. But my friend, Will, insisted. While he was sitting on the base of the stairs, tracing his fingers along the ornate sculpted banister, I went downstairs to grab something from the den. He felt another set of footsteps on the stairs, after mine, following me up. He told me afterward in sign language when he sat down at the table for tea. Then he asked me who else was here. I chuckled, my fingers tickling his leg in laughter, and told him he must have imagined it, but he claimed that he could smell them. When I asked him to describe the smell, he said it smelled bad, a sort of garbage smell. Someone who needed a bath, or hung out in the trash. Maybe my trash needed to go out, I said, and insisted it was just us. Are you sure? He and I were supposed to be working on the script for a game we were developing together. But he interrupted my suggestions to exclaim, "There! Do you smell it?" I didn't smell a thing. Nor did I see anyone in the living room with us. Does your nose actually work, or is it just a decoration on your face? Will burst, exasperated. When I dropped him off back at his apartment later, after we'd finished our work together, as he was getting out of the car, he warned me again that I definitely have another person hiding somewhere in my home. His hands described the feel to me. 2 fingers of his right hand walking up my arm toward my shoulder. 2 fingers of his left following behind, softer. Then he tapped his hand along my arm, showing me the feel of the vibration. First heavier, more solid, my steps, and then lighter, but still palpable, the second set of steps following mine and vibrating the wooden stairs. I patted his arm in affirmation and told him I'd search the house when I got home. "Be careful," he said, his signing empathetically slow, and gave my arm a final squeeze before tapping his way to the front of his building with his white cane. As soon as I got home, I searched the house, but I couldn't imagine where an intruder might conceal himself. It was a cozy home, 2 levels, with small square footage. The rent was suspiciously low, but I chalked that up to the lack of AC, creaky pipes, and the age of the place. I looked under the sink, in the closets, in the cupboards, in the spare bedroom. I even bought a camera and set it up, but all I captured overnight was myself sleepwalking. I vaguely remembered waking on the staircase and returning to bed. Other than that, the motion capture didn't turn on. According to the video, I was alone in my house. Still, the next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. It said that if you lose one sense, your others become sharper to compensate. But what if the reverse is also true? Was my reliance on my eyes causing my brain to shut out my other senses? What if I tried closing my eyes? It seemed silly. Even so, on a whim, that evening I went around the house wearing a blindfold. I was feeling my way through the kitchen, filling a glass with water from the sink, when I felt, the presence of someone. I couldn't pinpoint why. I just had the sense of not being alone. The hairs on my neck rose, and suddenly, I was absolutely certain someone was coming up behind me. I snatched off my blindfold. Just me. Still, the feeling lingered for a moment, those goosebumps persisting on my arms. I put the blindfold back on and puttered around in the kitchen for a while. It was then I noticed the smell. Like rotten meat. Like unwashed flesh. Spoiled and awful. And it was so faint, just wafting occasionally. The hairs on the nape of my neck stood up. I went upstairs trying to follow the smell, but I lost it almost immediately when I went into my den. I came back downstairs, my fingers lightly tracing the wall. I stopped because I felt footsteps behind me. Felt the soft reverberation on the wooden staircase, just a beat after my own. It was just like Will had described to me. Someone was here, right behind me. I felt cold breath on my ear. I tore off the blindfold and whirled around. The staircase was empty. That night, as I lay in bed, I had trouble drifting to sleep. I was afraid of what might happen overnight. And sure enough, I woke up on the stairs, sleepwalking. But instead of running to bed, I tried to keep myself in that dreamy state, and I held my eyes closed. My arm was cold. It took me a moment to realize that someone was holding my hand, a touch of icy fingers drawing me forward. Those dead fingers leading me up the stairs. Every instinct told me to tear my hand away and run, but I let the dead hand guide me up until I was on the landing. The rotten smell made my eyes water as the door to the spare bedroom opened. An overwhelming sense of dread made it hard to breathe as the hand guided me across the room. Then my fingers touched the cool handle to the balcony door and pushed the door open, fresh air gusting around me. I yanked back, terror shooting through me, and rushed for the light switch. I was alone again. I'm now looking for a new place to live. Will is right. I'm not alone. And my life is in danger every night I stay here. I've got to get out as soon as I can. But my budget is tight, and housing is scarce in this area. So, until I find a place, I've installed a bolt on the balcony doors and moved a heavy bookcase in front of them, and I've locked that spare bedroom. You see, I did some research and found out that the tenant who lived here before me died by hanging himself from the balcony of the upstairs bedroom. Before him, there was an old woman who lived here with her daughter, and the daughter was also found hanging. In fact, I don't know how many people before me have died, seemingly by taking their own lives. The house is not reported to be haunted because no one has ever seen a ghost here. But every day, I feel someone in the house with me, their footsteps treading just behind mine. And every night, those dead fingers take my hand and try to lead me out to the balcony.